Okay, I think we're about ready here. Let's go ahead, confirming that we're heading out here. There's no ATC. I apologize for that. I really don't know. I thought if I planned Saturday nights, we would have kind of our best chance for ATC. When we get over to England, we may end up trying to do some early morning flights to, again, just increase our chances for ATC. If we don't get it, we don't get it. That's really not the point of these flights. But we have plenty of time to talk about the big picture here as we go. See if we can get it lined up. I think we're pretty close. Alright, let's check our before takeoff checklist. Our mixtures are auto rich, propeller controls high RPM. We're going to go ahead and adjust the trim to just a little bit. Cow flaps, can't really get them to trail. It's kind of weird. We're just going to get them as close as we can there. Landing lights are coming on. Pitot heat. Looking at the weather, 55 degrees out right now, so we should be okay. We'll check though. We'll make sure if we run into any weather that we'll flip those guys on. Fuel pumps come back on and lock the tail wheel. Alright, before takeoff, checklist is complete. Here we go. We are flying. Positive rate. Gears up. Flaps coming up. We are in the air on our way to the beaches of Normandy. About 10 miles, and I think we can flip it over to our Augusta State inbound VOR. Do have to give a quick shout out to the Boston virtual crew. The BVARTCC guys are pretty phenomenal in just about every way. Great ATC, obviously. They're online a lot. But they're also very, very approachable, really into teaching people proper procedures and phraseology and all that stuff, and they'll hold you to task. Now, I'm not, they're trying to be as professional and as real as you can get. And many of them, I think, are actual air traffic controllers, and they're practicing their craft as they're doing this, this fun little sim. But anyway, they've got some things. If you go to bvartcc.com, they've got a nice website with a bunch of really good resources, and I think you'll enjoy what they have. They've got a pilot rating program that really is it's so informational. They've been holding ground schools on Monday night. I just missed the last one, but they've talked. I think last Monday was talking about RNAV approaches, and but they've also talked about oceanic procedures, and I mean they've had 7 or 8 really good ground school topics. And but I mean, they're about growing the community. They're about helping everybody become better. Um, Even if you're not ever going to be a real pilot like myself, you can still feel very immersive, very connected, and like you know what you're doing. And then maybe you can even become dumb enough to try to tackle a project like the blue spruce roots. Okay, we're getting 52.9er miles. So I think we'll go ahead and flip it over to Augusta State, which is a 111.4. Okay. And now again I need to just make this adjustment because there's a little bit of a bend in the road. So the outbound radio was 251, so we're pretty, it's not much, it's a subtle little bend. We can go ahead and lock Augusta State in and I think be okay here. But kind of back to the Boston virtual crew. This airspace is immense, and I mean it runs clear up from the border of Canada down to almost New York, and then clear out into western Pennsylvania. I think even maybe a little further. So there's all kinds of flying out here. Now I live kind of out west in the Rocky Mountains, and so I like that type of flying, even though it's just simulated flying for me. That's really appealing. I like that stuff, and I have a ton of fun out on the West Coast. I think Orbix's Pacific Northwest is some just brilliant work. But you can find the same kind of stuff in this airspace. You can find pretty good terrain. We're going to be flying over some spots here that you need 7,400 to fly over, and so at the same time though you can get some seaports and some of that kind of stuff with the weather that comes along with it. You fly into Nantucket and you're gonna get all kinds of funky, crazy weather. By the way, I really need to get my guys down to auto lean here, since I am at cruise. Let me just double check my numbers here. I do like this little checklist that they have provided. So cruise, we're going to be about 1,800 to 2,300 RPMs. We're kind of on the top end of that. Manifold pressure is going to be anywhere from 35 to 42, and we're not quite getting that. And we've got our throttle wide open, but we need to be auto lean, and just so we don't overdo it. All of our temps and pressures look good, so I think we're in good shape. So yeah, so anyway, mountainous terrain, foggy, crummy East Coast weather, fairly large cities like Boston. It doesn't get any busier than Boston, and but you can also get lots of uncontrolled airspaces, lots of little small private airstrips and stuff that you can fly in and out of and work on patterns and things like that. So anyway, since we're in the neighborhood, I wanted to give those guys a little bit of a shout out as well. They've done a lot to help me as a pilot, sim pilot, and really have helped me enjoy this. I know you're not supposed to call it a game, a hobby, whatever it is, This is like one of my main ways of unwinding at the end of the day. If I can't fish, this is what I'm doing. And so it's a lot of fun, and the more you learn about it, the funner it gets. It's one of those deals. Closing in on that 50-mile mark. At least we're getting close to being back on the outbound radial that the intended outbound radial 019er. Again, Mont Jolie in Canada, 115.9er. Wait till that gets to 50. That's going to get us even closer to that correct path we're supposed to be on. Just about a 40-degree heading correction here. Really interesting. Almost feel like instead of popping the nav lock on here, we may just continue to fly it by tweaking the heading, because it really struggled with, I mean, you saw last time all the S turns it was making to try to stay on track but not get too far off of the heading. Really struggled with that. So let's kind of see what happens here. We're still going to be a little bit east of where we're supposed to be, but not too bad. Give it another mile. Just about at that halfway point here between, let me see if I can mess up the names again, Mont Jolie and Septiles. And Septiles, let's see, 114.5. I'll let it go to about 60. We're pretty well on the outbound, so in theory that should put us pretty close to the inbound. But I did learn something. I was watching Fly Mike Alpha on YouTube. Anyway, there's so many good YouTube resources, but he was talking about VOR navigation just the other day, actually, and he had two different types of VOR equipment in his plane, and he tuned one in to the inbound and one to the outbound, kind of like what we do, and they didn't match up. And he actually mentioned that sometimes that happens, and when that happens, your plane actually is not certified to fly IFR. And so, I don't know if that's simulated in a plane like this, but I just thought, man, that's pretty interesting. Okay, we're over 60. We're roughly halfway. 114.50. We're going to put that in. Shouldn't change We don't have any bend in our airway. Gosh dang it! Keep going past. Should still be just on that the Victor 98, and so yeah, we're not 14.5. I don't know why we're not picking that up. That's not good. We are counting it down here. We're still outbound, which is good. $114.5. Maybe we're just a little too far away yet to pick that up. Something I researched, I think I mentioned this earlier on. I mean, it's been 6 hours, so I can't remember what I talked about. But the range, you know, because you're tuning into a radio frequency essentially, the range depends on terrain, it depends on your altitude, it depends, I mean, on a lot of different factors, and so I don't know, maybe we're so low that this isn't picking it up just yet. We'll find out, I guess. As we get a little closer, we'll hopefully see this guy pop in. Again, I'm triple checking 114.5 for Sept Isles. I'm going to just put this on here so you can verify. So here we are. This is where we headed from Montjoli, CYYY, into Sept Isles, CYZV. Now, I see a potential problem here. Let me show you what I mean. So CYZV, remember that. That's what SkyVector is telling us. But now look up here. I'm seeing UZV. Interesting. I'm wondering if there is some conflict with those frequencies. Okay, I'm going to jump over to my Navigraph cloud charts, and I'm just going to use that CYZV. Let's see if this can help me out. Let me show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm searching Sept Isles. Whoops. Don't really need to star that guy, but let's see if we can. Let's see if we can get some information just on the frequency. Let's see if we've got a conflict or something. 114.5 is what we're supposed to have here. Now the question is, where is that information listed on these Jeppesen charts? Boy, when you get outside, excuse me, of the US, things are in different places. I wonder if I looked at an approach for like runway 9er or something like that. Let's see what it tells me here. Alright, it's telling me that the localizer is 109.5. That's for IZV. It's not necessarily for YZV. And my navlock is telling me that I'm heading towards UZV. I'm still not getting any kind of an inbound radial. Okay, this could really cause an issue. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to just kind of do some research here as we continue to fly. Luckily for us, we're still on the outbound radial here, and that's still tracking us for a little while. We're 43 miles from Sept Isles, but this is the problem. We are nav locked to UZV when it should be YZV. And according to SkyVector, that 114.5 is where we should be heading. Okay, now we're going to fly while we research, and I've got a few miles yet, 40 miles, so we'll check in here in just a little bit to see what we find out. The wind has shifted just a little bit. 237, 31, so I hate to do this, but I think we're going to bump it 5 more degrees. So we talked a little bit about if we miss to the south, we have a different bay that we're going to run into. If we miss to the north, we there really isn't any defining water feature. It's just coastline, and there's all kinds of like little, tributaries that are running into the ocean. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous, to say the least. Okay, 88 miles. I'm wondering if we shouldn't maybe descend just a little bit here. How about this? How about we have not done descent planning for this, but how about we bump it down to about 6,000. We're gonna, for the most part, descend about 500 feet per minute. We'll go ahead and even increase that 1,000 feet per minute. Keep an eye on our speed here. We don't want to get crazy. This may sneak up to around 180. Be about the only time we're above, 150, honestly, which hasn't been a problem because we've had such a good tailwind that we haven't had to be, super fast through the air. We've made good time. We will pray for westerly winds, winds from the west next Saturday as we fly to Greenland. A little bit hazy, but we should be, for the most part, away from the weather, away from the cloud cover. Still am holding out hope that once we get, within 50 miles or so of Goose Bay, that the gauge will come alive and lead us home. If not, we're going to have our head on a swivel looking for Goose Bay itself, and at the far western end of Goose Bay we will find our airfield.